Good thing I got my Venom shirt with me because I can't watch Venom without my Venom shirt. And now I'm here for the review. Let's get to the review, shall we?
Like we used to do.
Venom is a movie based on Marvel anti-hero Venom from the Spider-Man comics, and this movie stars Tom Hardy and is directed by Ruben Fleischer. Now in this movie, Venom tells the story of Eddie Brock, who is a journalist who is actually jealous of Carlton Drake's Life Foundation company, and then he finds out that basically Carlton Drake's company is basically trying to escort supplies from outer space so that he can solve the world problem, which becomes a world threat problem. And now Eddie Brock interacts with one of his symbiotes known as Venom, and now they bond in interaction together, and now it's up to Venom and Eddie Brock who must work together in terms of stopping what Carlton Drake is planning next. Now, first of all, when I heard about a Venom movie coming in, I was like, okay, we're getting a movie based on Venom. Like, is this really okay? A movie based on Spider-Man's villain? Like, it's an anti-hero. I know he's an anti-hero. There's some bad things he has done, and there's some good things that Venom has done. I've understand this character, and I thought that getting a Venom movie, okay, you want to make a Venom movie? Let's have the Venom movie. You want this movie to be rated R? Go ahead. Come on, let's make a Venom movie. Show it to me. And then I've seen some trailers. I've seen some high expectations. I've seen news about it, and even some R-rated turning PG-13, and I was like, okay, yeah, we're getting that Venom. And then suddenly when I walked in the theaters into watching Venom, I was excited because I have my Venom shirt on with me. Until then I suddenly watched Venom, I was like, okay, yeah, this is the movie we get. And I walked out theaters and I was like, I can't go out by saying, oh my god, Venom was actually awesome. Yeah, one of the best Marvel movies I've ever seen in my life. I can't even do that because I have to think myself. I have to assess myself whether I did enjoy this movie or whether I did not enjoy this movie. Well, first of all, yeah, according to some negative reviews, we've got negative things from Venom, and some people are like, yeah, they just enjoyed the movie for some reason. They're like, oh, there are some awesome things with this movie, and yet there are some terrible things in this movie. So I head on to watch this movie and figure out myself. I find out myself what's bad about this movie and what's good about this movie, and walked out here. So I'm like, okay, yeah, I've seen enough of that, and now I'm about to tell you this. First of all, this movie had a dark tone because Venom itself is dark and also a brutal character, and there's some brutal things that he has done, and yet the movie had some dark tone in this movie. There's some dark elements in this movie, and of course, according to the elements, according to the settings, I was like, yep, it's very dark. And of course, Venom has done very dark, bad things, like such as saying things that he wants to eat, and Venom doing at least violent things. And yes, Venom's character itself is dark because he is a very aggressive character, and from his perspective, he does bad things, terrible things that might be a little bit of a nightmare. Of course, I was a little bit tired when I was watching this movie. My eyes were tired, but from my tired eyes, I can see that there is something wrong with this movie that makes me want to feel like, yes, there is something terrible going on with this movie. First of all, Venom getting an R-rated PG-13, I might not care as long as the movie is based on what it needs to be. I mean, this movie could have been rated R. I would like to agree with that. If this movie is rated R, I would actually watch this movie, and I would give my high hopes on watching this movie so that they can show how violent this movie could be. But instead, they go down for a PG-13 rating, which I was like, nah, it's actually fine. I mean, here's the thing. From PG-13 to be R-rated, you have to have a minimum of 90% to show that R-rated material. So then they go above to 95%. But they want to connect to the Marvel Cinematic Universe in the future. So they just decrease down to 80% of it. And 80% is like the maximum of the Marvel Cinematic Universe connection. And they just go as low as possible so that they can get a PG-13 rating. And then go as a little high as possible so it can connect to the Marvel Cinematic Universe. And I didn't see the connection after all. I'm like, Venom is actually Venom and what it needs to be. It's a movie without Spider-Man. It just focuses on the anti-hero itself. It actually creates its own universe. Sony actually attempted to make a Venom movie because they want to make a Venom movie, but in the end, it kind of like, it feels like it's building its own universe. It's like actually the symbiote universe. I can tell by the after credits, I can tell by all the things they've done with this movie. Sony tried with this movie at least, but it feels like you don't have to have Spider-Man in this movie. You don't have to connect with the Marvel Cinematic Universe. From what I've seen so far, it's just a universe that basically Sony is trying to make. It's trying to make a universe based on the symbiote universe itself without Spider-Man. So basically, this is a symbiote Venom only movie without Spider-Man. So Spider-Man is not allowed. It's an anti-Spider-Man movie. Now, in terms of storyline, what's the problem with this movie? What Sony tried with this movie is that Venom actually tried. Yes, Venom tries to tell the story. It tells the story of Eddie Brock. Eddie Brock is a journalist, and then he's jealous of Carlton Drake because Carlton Drake has all the good stuff, but he's actually a liar. And then Carlton Drake does something bad, which Eddie Brock is trying to prove, but no one gives a damn about it. No one seems to care about Eddie Brock, and then Eddie Brock messes up himself. And then in terms of trying to get Eddie Brock with Venom, I think it works. It works. There are some great moments with this movie with Eddie Brock and Venom. the combination, the symbiote itself. But then there are some times where Eddie Brock has to do a lot of the things. For example, like Eddie Brock messes himself up, he does some lousy activities, and then suddenly Eddie Brock making his first connection with Venom, he seems to be doing a little bit childish things. And then at other times, Eddie Brock is just Eddie Brock. He's just basically this lousy person who doesn't seem to have a good interaction with Venom. Now, I mean, there are some great actions with this movie. There are also some great action. I mean, the actions were great. It's still it's still like an R-rated movie. I mean, it feels like you're watching an R-rated movie inside a PG-13 movie, which is what kids wanted. If this movie goes R-rated, parents are more sure whether kids should be watching this movie or not. I mean, if Venom gets an R-rated, that would be okay. If Venom gets a PG-13 rating, it would be fine. I mean, if it gets an R-rated movie, it would be great. I watched Logan with my mom, and my mom cried during the ending. I watched Deadpool 2 with my brother, and overall we did have a great time, even though it's on Ramadan. Venom getting an R-rated could have been actually better. It's like, but you're watching an R-rated movie inside a PG-13 movie, which I was more considered about. Like, is Venom even more family friendly? I mean, there were some scenes where Venom bites up some heads. The action were great. There were some intense scenes, and then there's this one time, I don't know how to say to my friend about exploding drones who basically just explodes, and then suddenly they explode coming out blue fire, and I don't know what to say about that. And then Venom just biting off heads, and then swearing words and that, like saying S words multiple times, and also saying the A word. And then there's that one word they say about cowards, about the cat coward word, and I thought I laughed at that. I mean, everyone seemed to laugh at that scene. The characters, yes. What do you want to say about Tom Hardy's Eddie Brock? Well, when I have Tom Hardy playing as Eddie Brock, this was the Eddie Brock that we finally want. Like, we're gonna get a great Eddie Brock in this movie, but then suddenly Tom Hardy playing as Eddie Brock, it's like, yep, it's right. He does lunatic things in this movie. He's just being childish in that. I could relate to that character. And then when they have a connection with Venom, that's when things get awesome. When Venom and Eddie Brock makes a... Really? When Eddie Brock and Venom combines together, they make a good friendship in that. There were some things where Eddie Brock was able to only listen to Venom in his head, and then suddenly like Venom does things. It kind of has that Death Note vibe in this movie. I kind of come in the theaters and had the Death Note vibe, but it turns out that, yep, it's a Venom shirt. It's still a Venom movie until now. And overall, I say that Venom is okay, but Tom Hardy is just, well, he's just childish. And then you also got Michelle Williams, which, yeah, she just happens to be there. And then you also got the main villain, Carlton Drake, who's Carlton Drake in terms of being a villain. He tries to actually connect to the world problem. He's trying to be a very serious problem. He's trying to be a command leader. It's like, if you look at the world is on the brink of extinction, and now maybe with symbiotes we could be a better living. And he just uses things. He's not the villain that you don't want to fear. He's just basically that villain that happens to be there. Like, he's a very calming person, but sometimes he's a little bit aggressive. Like, there are some things that you won't expect from this guy. He's just a calm villain, and he's like, okay, we're gonna make sure everything done. He just wants things to be what it needs to be. Like, basically every poor people must have that symbiote as a human test, and it feels like those symbiotes are killing people, and he doesn't seem to care about it, because this is called God's thing. This is called the God's creation. This is actually a test in that, and I feel like Carlton Drake's character is basically one of the weakest parts of this movie. I have to say this, but Venom is Sony's first attempt in making a Marvel anti-hero movie, which could have done some improvements. Now, yes, from the keyword improvements, you're starting to think that I'm criticizing based on improvements. It's like I'm criticizing this movie based on how my teacher criticizes my project. My teacher likes this project like, oh, I did a great job with the project, but at least maybe add some details, add some more images, and add some more improvements. Basically, the teacher is asking for more improvements with the project. It's basically the same thing like what I want for this movie is basically improvements. I mean, I wish there could have been more added to this movie. Venom is actually what it needs to be. There could have been some more that they could have done with this movie. But yeah, that was my review on Venom. Have you seen it? What you think of the movie? Let me know in kind of comments below. Overall, in the after credits, I'm like, okay, yep, the after credits was surprising. You can stay down for the after credits, but not the after credits, just the post credits, and you're like, okay, we can get a sequel as long as we can afford it. Yep, this is a movie that could have focused on the symbiote universe. Any thoughts on my Venom shirt? Maybe? Let me know in the comments below. I got this for $11 online. Oh yeah, bonus points for this movie is basically this place being mentioned. I mean, it's in the east, but this actually takes place in the west. Just basically on this week, take me back to that place. Take me back to the suburb where I was born at. Oh, you're confused where it's at? There you go. How about that? Take me back to where I was born. When Dark Phoenix came out, when it's Eid al-Fitr, take me back there so I can watch Dark Phoenix as soon as possible. But yeah, that was my review on Venom. Gotta save my money for a Spider-Verse movie, because who knows, it could be great, but here's the outro. That is all for this video. If you do enjoy this video, give it a like. That would be very helpful. And in the description, you'll find the link so you can follow me on Twitter, Instagram, and Google+. I appreciate you guys for watching this, and I'll see you another time. Bye-bye.